Hi guys, Mike the Warrior here, and as the title says, today we're discussing the most brutal death in all of Bakugan, or at least Gen 1. So, Battle Brawlers to Mechanium Surge. I don't know if Gen 2 or 3 has any death scenes, as I haven't watched them yet, but that's neither here nor there. When you think of brutal deaths, it's more of how kind of messed up it is, as opposed to an emotional death scene. Okay, granted, it could be both, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. I think an example would be Frieza killing Krillin in Dragon Ball. The death itself isn't necessarily sad, but if you look at this situation for what it is, it's pretty brutal. He's even begging for help as he goes out. Now, back to Bakugan, despite this being a kid show, it's no stranger to deaths, let alone brutal deaths. The first one that fits this criteria would be Link from New Vestroya. A quick reminder, the Vexos have been defeated twice now, and at this point they're not really holding back, or at least King Zenaheld isn't holding anything back. And he decides to build this big super weapon that's going to destroy essentially all life that gets in their way. Link at first doesn't seem to care, till he remembers that if they start eliminating all of their enemies, this does include Alice, who was the one person who was genuinely nice to him, even though he treated her terribly. And he starts to have second thoughts. Hydron catches wind of this, as he doesn't do the best job of covering his tracks, and the two are forced into a battle. Overall, this battle can be summed up to the idea of finding a place where they belong. And Hydron is even called out by Link that he doesn't really care about any of this. He's only doing what his father tells him because he wants his approval. Hydron then snaps at Link, claiming that he's nothing but a loser and the only place he belongs is at the bottom of his shoe. Hydron then immediately wins the match and the game, even destroying his new Bakugan. But that's not good enough. You see, at this point, it's pretty clear that Hydron wants to humiliate Link. So he decides that he's going to send him to the same place he sent Volt. And this is clearly treated as a death scene because, spoilers, they never actually come back. Their ghosts kind of haunt him, but it's pretty clear that that's not actually them. And what makes this such a brutal way to go out is that he doesn't go away the way Volt did, where he curses Hydron's name. Link is crawling terrified for his life, and he essentially dies alone and no one knows what happens to him. But there is a silver lining in this. He was able to get the information to Alice without Hydron realizing it. So, at least the death wasn't in vain. Okay, so where do we go from here? Let's go to the next season of Bakugan, Gundalian Invaders. We are told that the Gundalians can be pretty ruthless even towards each other. They're willing to stab each other in the back just to make themselves look good. There is some hostility towards Sid and Ren, but we really start to see what this meant once we saw the fate of Lena. During the battle for the first shield generator, or the first shield generator that we see, I guess, Lena is forced to go up against Shun and later Dan. Yes, she had help from Kazarina, but Kazarina was clearly doing the heavy lifting in this battle. Lena is constantly trying to prove herself, and this is because she is going to be killed for her failure. Because she was given a heads up from Gil, she attempted to assassinate Kazarina before she could be punished. However, it didn't work. And as a kid, I remember the image of Lumagrau standing on top of her, or behind her, gave me nightmares for a little while when I first saw it as a kid. That being said, this doesn't hold a candle to her teammate Zenet and how she got killed off. Zenet realizes that her team, well, they're being picked off one by their own people because of their recent failures. And the whole episode, she is extremely paranoid. And honestly, rightfully so, as she is basically like this the entire episode. And the contrast to how she usually is, at first glance, Zenet seemed like she was going to be the Shadow Probe / Link character. She's kind of laid back, the comic relief of her team, but unlike Shadow Probe and Link, she had a really powerful showing throughout her first couple of battles, as she defeated Fabia and technically Dan. There's some air quotes around that one, but we'll get to that another day. My point being is Zenet was shown to be a very prominent character, and it's just the very thought that she might be next on the chopping block threw her out off her game so badly that she's just this mess throughout this entire episode. Speaking of, in this episode, she goes the entire time trying to warm up to Gil in an attempt to show that she can be useful. Unfortunately, she had to help Gil in a battle with Shun and Dan, and And just like her teammate, she ended up losing this battle very badly. And to Gil's credit for why he's so furious is this is largely her fault. Though to Zenit's defense, Dan and Shun are very unbeatable once they work together. However, she's able to show that she can be useful in the end, as she's able to help Gil discover of a potential coup that is happening with Kazarina and Nurzak. And it's something that only she could have been able to find out because of her shape-shifting ability. She then swears her undying loyalty to Gil, and it actually looks like things are going to be okay. However, as I've stated previously, the Gundalians love throwing each other under the bus just so they can make themselves look good. So he kills Zenet anyway and makes it seem like he came up with this information. It's so tragic, and I am genuinely surprised they aired this on TV at Cartoon Network. But this isn't the most brutal death in the series, as these two characters aren't actually dead. That is also the reason I'm not talking about Gus here. That battle with Zenoheld is really hard to get through just because it's a one-sided slaughter. But at the end of the day, as brutal as it was, I do take some points off for the simple fact that Gus, Lena, and Zenet didn't actually die in these confrontations. Kazarina ended up wanting to use them for her experiments, well, at least Lena and Zenet. Gus was just kind of kept in prison, and we believed he had died. Well, where do we go from here? And that's a very easy answer. Quick rundown for Mechanium Surge. The No-Nets are a group of Bakugan who were the nemesis of the original Dragonoid. He defeated them and sent them to the deepest pits of the Doom Dimension. Once they broke out, they swore vengeance on his descendant, Drago, as it was the closest thing they could get to the real thing. Leading them was a new character named Wiseman, basically the new version of Masquerade, the other new version of Masquerade. At first, it seemed like his secret identity was obvious, but they actually pulled the rug out from under us and did a switcheroo. And I have to admit, this was pretty clever. He was actually Cortagon, not Guz. Cortagon is a Mechtagon, along with his allies who are also Mechtagon. They were created by Fury, another one of the original Dragonoid's enemies. Anyway, they killed Fury, their creator, and then decided to enter the human world, and they started wreaking havoc. Fast forward, Guz, who we thought was Wiseman, showed up to the battle at the most confusing time, and the Brawlers clearly thinks he's still Wiseman, trying to pull one over on them. He even sees his partner Riptak with Dan, his enemy. Confused and betrayed, once Cortagon is revealed to be the real Wiseman, he betrays the No-Nets as well, and they team up with Guz, who decides to be the new Wiseman to take vengeance on all of them. When Guz, now as the new Wiseman, makes his appearance with the No-Nets, Cortagon finishes off the Brawlers and sends them to the Doom Dimension. So now we have a villain versus villain fight. And fight is a loose term. This is a one-sided slaughter, even worse than the one I mentioned with Guz and Zenoheld. But to tie this back to the first episode, one of Cortagon's buddies noticed something after they one-shotted Riptak in the first episode of Part 2. And that is, when Bakugan are defeated in the real world, they don't die. They go into this strange ball form. So I ask you, viewer, what do you think happens to a Bakugan if you keep attacking them and don't let them return into ball form?
No! There's no retreating into ball form for you! Leave him alone!
I'm sorry, brothers, but you'll have to add me to the list of those to avenge! Destroy him!
Screams of agony while he's essentially being electrocuted to death while his brothers watch helplessly. It all just solidifies that this is easily the most brutal death in all of Bakugan for me. Mutabred isn't the only one to go. All the No-Nets except for two of them make it out of this battle, and one only makes it out because he decided to stay in the Doom Dimension because he just knew they weren't going to win this fight. And unlike some of the others I mentioned, being the ones from Gundalian Invaders and, well, Gus, the No-Nets stay dead. They don't get revived, even though the Battle Brawlers time travel to essentially stop Cortagon. They don't save the No-Nets. Like, this is it for them. And I think that also just makes this a lot more impactful. The No Nets as characters, they weren't Shakespeare or anything, but they did get the job done in terms of what they were here for. And I think that was good enough for what this was trying to be. Anyway, with that, we have another video done. This was a bit shorter, but I wanted to tackle this video. Honestly, the only reason I went over the other deaths was because I didn't want to just have a short video about Mechanium Surge, just because I didn't really know how well it would do on the channel. And I had a chance to talk about some of the other deaths, so it all worked out. I might do a follow-up about the saddest deaths in Bakugan, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, let me know down in the comments below. Do you agree with Mutabred's being the most brutal death? I would recommend actually watching the episode itself to just know how painful this was. But if you think one is even more brutal, just let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to like and subscribe while you're at it. Follow me on social media. It's Mike the Warrior, as you can see on screen. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace.